I'm Andy Schmuckler. There's a part of me that wants to look away from the American theme of the moment because it's so painful in the wake of this election with what what is plainly plausible scenarios lying ahead that we people of my generation grew up never thinking would be ever possible scenarios for this country. So it's painful, but I can't help but keep looking for ways of fighting the fight, even though we are obviously in a much more disadvantageous position than we hope to be in the wake of that election. So I came up with an idea lately for one piece of what we might do now. Most of my attention I want to put off into the conveying my better human story, which is a bigger picture. But here's a particular tactic that I think might be good. And as I've explained, I've got one person who's very highly esteemed and prominent Democrat. I have the good fortune to have the ear figuratively speaking. We do not meet person to person. But he's interested in my writings and I send him ideas and sometimes they get sent around. So I wrote to him this idea, which I'd like to share with you. It's called the Denunciation Project. It sounds like a Robert Ludlum title, I think. But here's what I wrote to him. Dear so-and-so, I've got an idea I want to present to you. When I read this morning about Trump's middle of the night attack on Maggie Haberman of the New York Times for what she's written about him, and then put that together with what we've been hearing about Trump's plans to go after the DOJ prosecutors who worked on the cases against him, this idea came to me. There should be a denunciation project in which a well-chosen Democratic leader, preferably one, but potentially a triumvirate, goes public whenever Trump acts in a way that no president should act and denounces Trump for corrupting the office. This would apply also to the ways in which he threatens others who oppose him, like intimidating Jeff Bezos and CEOs on Wall Street with punishment for their exercising their constitutional rights in opposition to Trump. I could add parenthetically here, I don't believe any American president has ever threatened that kind of punishment for people acting like citizens and like free press and such. This is a new thing in America, I believe. Any of the ways that go contrary to the norms of American politics through the generations and are more like the ways of dictators. The point of such an ongoing campaign would be to make sure that the American people are aware whenever Trump crosses over important boundaries. Whether or not there's a way of stopping Trump, he should not get away with it without paying a political price, a price he pays because the American people are kept aware of those boundaries, the boundaries that separate an American president from a fascist dictator. I envision some well-chosen leader going toe-to-toe with Trump, making news, for example, by defending Haberman. She just wrote the truth. That's the job of a free press. I challenge you, Mr. Trump, to show that she published anything that wasn't true. And for example, defending the Department of Justice prosecutors who are doing their jobs and fulfilling their oath of office. They were furthering the rule of law If you, Mr. Trump, thought the indictments false, why did you do everything you could to avoid having the truth coming out through a trial? They were doing their job, and no American president should punish people for doing what they were supposed to do. I have a particular leader in mind, and this is what I would do if I were you, and if I thought that this idea was a good one. I would contact California Governor Gavin Newsom and try to recruit him for the job. You may recall that I sent you previously something about Newsom. It's clear to me that he's got his eye on the 2028 Democratic nomination. Moreover, Newsom has shown himself to have an appetite for going toe-to-toe with these Republicans, like going on Fox News to do battle with DeSantis, and being very good at it. Newsom is also reportedly preparing California to resist Trump, where possible, on the defense of the environment and on immigration. So he's signaled that he's taking a combative position. Ideally, the leader who took on Trump for his abuses of presidential power and the presidential role would have weighty moral authority, while Newsom seems somewhat slicker than that. But with Trump, one does not need one of the prophets to call him to account for his wrongdoing. If Newsom took this job on, part of the job would be to make his playing this role highly visible, an important event, an ongoing role that the media would be drawn to cover. The American people would have their attention drawn to Trump's trampling on norms and maybe breaking laws, and Newsom would have a good means of standing out as a Democratic David, taking on the Philistine Republican Goliath in defense of God's side. If he did it well, he would be hard to stop in the 2027-28 primaries. I think it would be most effective if one person took on this role. Easier to create the drama that gets attention when it's two people going toe-to-toe. But if there's no one willing, or if those who think it should be a group effort, I'm not sure who would also score well in the ring. Elizabeth Warren comes to mind, and you, if you can see yourself landing hard punches with the national media televising the fight. In the next 4 years, or longer if the lawlessness prevents further elections, we will need to fight back against this wrecking ball of a president in a whole host of ways. I think this might be one of the important ones. Do you like the idea? If so, do you feel you could make the pitch to Newsom? That's the idea I pitched, and I don't yet have any response. I don't know if it's going to bear any fruit. I still like the idea. I don't think it's exactly a game changer, but I think it's one of a handful of routes that we should take to drain power away from this fascistic force in whatever ways that we can, before it uses the power it has now to end American democracy. Thanks. Subscribe if you would. Take a look at my integrated picture of a whole lot of things about the forces at work in the human world in an integrated picture on my website, A Better Human Story.